Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Are you studying or only time passing? Studying. So far we have finished four poem and let us see.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you, Sneha?
I'm fine, sir.
Okay, we too fine. Sitting here. Bharat, Sunny, Hanan, all the students are there. Yes, so we have finished four poem earlier, and today we are studying poem number fifth, six, that is Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. So Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, written by Adrian Rich. And if you talk about the theme of the poem, it is about male dominated society, about male dominance in the society. It's also describing about gender struggle, gender, male, female. Aunt Jennifer has beautifully, through her poem, My Tigers, or Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, has described her suffering, her experience, her pain, what she underwent in her life. And she has desire to be free like tiger, to be courageous, to be bold like a tiger. So if I tell you about the introduction of the poet, so her name was Adrienne Rich, lived from 1929 till 2012. She was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. So she has written many poems as well as the theory essays. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, three collections of essays, and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. So, if you read Adrienne, you would see that in her writing she has resisted to racism. All of you understand what is racism? What is racism, Bharat? So, differentiation on the basis of color, especially in Europe. And in India, we have like racism, that is, like racism, what we have in India. In India, we don't have racism. We are not racist people. We are casteist people. We have casteism. People follow,
Yes,
even though education is there, but still people have this kind of narrow mentality. So you could see all these things, and even militarism. Militarism means earlier, now not everywhere, but Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Saddam Hussein, in all those country. So they believed in militarism, military power. Okay, dictatorship. In Pakistan also earlier it used to be there. Yes. The poem on Jennifer Tigers addresses the constraints of married life a woman experience. The constraints means the limitations. So the restrictions, constraints of a woman in married life. That's what she says here. So that is the short introduction about the poet Adrian Rich. If I talk about the mood of the poem, so the mood of the poem is no, it is sad, it is sad, it is fearful, nervous, okay. So the poem addresses the constraints of married life a woman experiences. Aunt Jennifer represents women all across the world who are caught under the oppressive hand of patriarchal society. What is patriarchal society? Society which is dominated by male. She is torn between the impulse to freedom and imagination. Her tapestry of prancing tiger. So, what is she busy in? Tapestry. What is tapestry? Yeah, Bharat. What is tapestry? No, no. So, tapestry, her artwork. So, yes. So, her tapestry of prancing tigers and the massive weight of gender roles and expectations, which is symbolized by uncle's wedding band. So we shall see it here in detail what she says, stanza by stanza, word by word. Now I am reading it from the book and I will explain. So first of all, the title is Aunt Jennifer Tigers. So remember, Aunt represents all the married women who are oppressed. Yes, who are oppressed by male in the society, who are exploited, who are suppressed by male in the society. Means for everything they have to ask their husband, the brother, or their fellow. And tiger symbolizes what? Tiger symbolizes her dream, her desire to be courageous, to be bold, to be powerful. So, if we read, we shall also see that Aunt Jennifer is just opposite of what she wants to be. She is opposite to a tiger, but still she has chosen the the animal tiger because she wants to be like tiger. Like the tiger is free, men is free in the society. Man also can go anywhere. He is also unafraid. Same way, the tiger also is unafraid. And Aunt Jennifer wants to be a tiger. She wants to be courageous, free like tiger. What does the title of the poem suggest to you? When you hear the title, what does it suggest to you? Yes, Sunny. What does the title suggest to you? Yeah. What does the title suggest to you, Sneha? Sneha is not there, it seems. Yes.
Sir, that title suggests that the Aunt Jennifer wants to be like a tiger. She wants to be courageous, brave, and bold enough to so that male can't dominate her, especially her husband can't dominate her.
Okay, so when I heard this title for the first time, I thought, I imagined that Aunt Jennifer possessed some tiger. She had some tiger. So the picture comes to your mind that there is a lady whose name is Jennifer. She is aunt and she has got some tiger. She has pet tigers. So therefore, the title is Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Means the tigers which belong to Aunt Jennifer. So usually because I have told you already the introduction, or you might have read, so you know it. But if you are reading for the first time, automatically the picture will come that Aunt Jennifer has got tigers. Not one tiger, Aunt Jennifer's tigers. More than one. Are you reminded of other poems on tigers? Do you remember any other poem or any other story on tigers in your 9th class, 10th class? Yes? Which one? The Tiger King. The Tiger King is in 12th itself. Mrs. Speckletide's tiger. So that was the story. And in 12th also you have the Tiger King. And there might be another poem also. So if you have read it, you would be able to relate it. Now I read it. Before we read again, tell me, what do you think? What is the rhyming scheme followed? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizen of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Which rhyming scheme? What rhyme scheme followed here? So four-line stanza. Yes. What's rhyming scheme? Sneha, what is rhyming scheme? Sneha, what rhyming scheme? Bharat. So screen green. A, B, B. Very good. So throughout the poem, it has got that rhyming scheme A, B, B. So here in the first stanza, the poet says that Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. There is a lady whose name is Jennifer, and the poet addresses her aunt. Aunt represents the all the oppressed women of the world, and he says that Aunt Jennifer's tigers, they seem to be prancing. Prancing means moving, jumping, happy, exciting. Where? Across a screen. Across a screen. So Aunt Jennifer had the hobby of knitting the tapestry, and she used to draw the tiger on the screen. Now I am not able to make the tiger here, but if I get a little bit idea, I can draw it for you. So her tigers, yes, it's there in the picture in the book. So her tigers, Aunt Jennifer's tigers, some idea you will get. Her tigers are prancing. Prancing means jumping, moving. You could see here. Aunt Jennifer's tigers are prancing on the screen. They are jumping, they are lively on the screen. Screen means the curtain on which she is drawing them. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. They are bright in color. They are bright topaz. Topaz is a precious stone. Yes, not greenish, yellowish, golden. So they are shining like topaz, precious stone. And they are denizen of a world of green. World of green means forest. Denizen means living being. So they are denizen, they are living being, they are resident of forest, world of green. They do not fear the man beneath the tree. The tiger which Aunt Jennifer has drawn, they are unafraid of anyone, any man. They suppose this is a tree, okay, and this is another branch of the tree, another branch of the tree, okay, a beautiful a thick tree, and on this branch there is a tiger, okay, tiger moving, and there are men beneath the tree. So men here stand for whom? Actually the men here stand for the hunters, and the man is telling they are moving, and perhaps even if there is a man standing here with a gun in his hand, there is a gun in his hand, okay, but still the tiger which she has made, she has drawn, the tiger is unafraid. So therefore it relates, it says that they do not fear the men beneath the tree. Aunt Jennifer's tigers do not fear the men beneath the tree. So men, she could have written hunters, she could have written the word hunters, but she has written the word men to relate that women are afraid of their husbands, of the male dominant society, but the tigers which is moving there, it is not afraid of anyone. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. They pace means make a movement. They move in peace. Sleek means elegantly, beautifully, showing confidence without being afraid. Certainty, again, without any frightened, without being any, uh, without having any fear. So bravely. So they pace in sleek chivalric certainty. That's the explanation of first stanza. Now, if you see any poetic device there, you can tell me what poetic device you see there in the first stanza. Yeah? Metaphor where? Which line? World of green. Very good. Metaphor. World of green. World of green stand for what? Forest. World of green. Forest. Yes. What else? Topaz denizen, bright topaz denizen. What is this? It tells you what? Bright topaz denizen. Yes. Which poetic device? Imagery. When I say bright topaz, what comes to your mind? Yes, that comes to your mind. You are able to imagine. That's imagery. So, bright topaz denizen of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. Even the man has been said here for whom? Hunters. Hunters. But there is no direct comparison. They pace in sleek chivalry certain. Okay, so these two poetic device you can notice here. One is the metaphor, second one is imagery. Okay, and then there is also another very simple poetic device you are not able to notice. What is that? Aunt Jennifer Tiger pants across the screen. Bring bright topaz dinner the world of green. So personification throughout the poem, the tigers are personified. Personification is adding human qualities to non-living things or animals. So even personification is there throughout the poem because they pace in sleek chivalric certainty. They pace confidently. Now next stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Aunt Jennifer, who is busy in knitting the um, work, her hand is so weak that it is shivering. Her fingers are fluttering. Which poetic device? Fingers fluttering? Alliteration. Fingers fluttering. F. Alliteration. Through her wool. Fine, even the ivory needle hard to pull. She doesn't have strength, even so strength to pull that ivory needle to make the artistic work she is busy in. The massive weight of uncle's wedding van sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Next line says that the massive weight of uncle's wedding van, because of her marriage, because of her married life, because of her marriage responsibility, duty, what happens because of the wedding band, because of that bond, she is overburdened. The massive weight, there is poetic device, hyperbole, exaggeration, the massive weight of uncle's wedding band. Now, how can the wedding band here stand for ring also, ring, wedding ring. So, how can this be heavy? No, but at the same time, hyperbole, exaggeration is there, and therefore it says that the massive weight of uncle's wedding band, it suppresses Aunt Jennifer. It sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Upon Aunt Jennifer's hands, which poetic device? Upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Yes, upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Which poetic device? Synecdoche? Yes, so that's what synecdoche is. When hand, when I say it could be seen on our hand, means what? You could see the complete trouble, burden, responsibility on her personality. How can you see it on her hand? So hand is depicting what? It is representing her complete
So
personality.
what is synecdoche?
That is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a poetic device in which a body part is used for complete personality of the person. For example, if you remember the poem Ozymandias, in Ozymandias there was a line, the hand that mocked, the face that, sorry, the hand that fed, the face that mocked. So the hand was used for the king, the face was also used for the king. So when a body part, it could be any body part, it could be hand, nose, eyes, whatever body part, when it is used for complete personality of a person, that is called synecdoche. So here the poet says that the massive weight of uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. You could see the wedding bands, the burden, the trouble, the responsibility on Aunt Jennifer's hand. So Aunt Jennifer hand here stand for Aunt Jennifer on her complete personality. That is a synecdoche, the poetic device. And this is a style of poet to make the poem interesting. Any other poetic device if it is there? So one we have discussed, fingers fluttering, that is alliteration, and then we had also seen the wedding band, that is hyperbole. Okay, hyperbole, this two poetic device, and then one more we had seen, that is Jennifer's hand, that is synecdoche. Now, next stanza. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. When aunt is dead, her terrified hand will lie. So, how can the hand be terrified? When aunt is dead, when she is dead, she would be free of everything. But her terrified hands will lie. Terrified hands means what? The hand which is, yes, the hand which is afraid of the husband. So terrified hands, which poetic device here? Exaggeration, synecdoche, plus no exaggeration, transferred epithet. What is transferred epithet? So the poetic device here is transferred epithet. Now what is a transferred epithet? When a quality of a person, when a noun, when an adjective or word which is used to describe a noun or a person, it is used to describe an object or body part or abstract idea, that is called transferred epithet. For example, I use the word happy, happy, happier, happiest. So happy we use to describe a person, is a happy man. But I say happy birthday. So that is transferred epithet. Same way here, terrified. He is terrified, more terrified, the most terrified. So we use the word terrified for whom? Person, people, they are terrified. How can the hand be terrified? How can the bottle be terrified? How can any other object be terrified? But the poet, the author, they use these kind of words. That's logically that is not correct, but grammatically they are correct. Remember, transferred epithet, logically if you put a logic, they are not correct, but grammatically they are accepted, they are correct. So that is called transferred epithet. When the quality of a noun, when the quality of a person is transferred to an object or to abstract idea, that is transferred epithet. So when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. That means she would be free, at least temporary, from her all kinds of fear, but still you could see the fear in her hand. Still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. But then again the poet says that she, you could still ringed with, her hands will lie, but you can see the difficulties she was mastered by. She was ordered by the whatever the difficulty problem in her life she had learned to face. Still those difficulties, those problem you can see surrounding, encircling, and the word has been used here, ringed. Ringed is used here in a poetic device that is called pun. What is pun? Playful use of word, tricky use of word, that is pun. Using a word playfully, sometime into meaning, that is fun. So here ring means what? The ring of wedding ring, okay. And second ring means circled, encircle. I am ringed by the walls, I am ringed by the students. I am ringed means kirawa, encircle. And second ring is this wedding ring, engagement ring. So he says, when aunt is dead, her hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals. Ordeals means the difficulty, complexity she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and afraid. So aunt will be still ringed with the difficulties. Still you could see the difficulties she had mastered. But the tigers which she had made. The tigers she had made on the screen, those tigers will go on prancing. Now you see what a contrast there is, what an irony it is. The creator is dead. Who is the creator? And the creation is tiger. So the creator is dead, but the creation will go on. Means to say, still the desire to be free will be in many other women of the world. Aunt is dead, she is gone to heavenly life, but her works, artistic work, which is there put on the curtain, it will be there. And there are other women in the society who will be struggling to get freedom. So the tigers will go on proud and unafraid. That means still the male dominant society will go, it will not end, still the women will be desiring. So if we talk about irony here, you would see that Aunt Jennifer was a weak lady, mentally, physically, a weak lady, and she is weaving a picture of what? Strong tiger. Even though she is weak, she is overburdened, she is oppressed, exploited, terrified, but she is being a picture of whom? Tiger. Because she wants to be like tiger. She wants to be powerful like tiger. And another one you would see that brutal tiger has been described as chivalric in the first stanza. The brutal tiger has been described as chivalric. Chivalric means what? Kind, brave, polite, respectful. All this the meaning of chivalric. So the tiger has been described as chivalric, and the man oppressor has been described as brutal husband or the male dominant society. So that's the irony and contrast here. So any other poetic device, if you could see, if you could notice, you can tell me, Bharat, and anyone. The tigers in the panel that she has made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now, how the tigers could be proud? Proud is the quality which can be only among human beings. So again, personification is their poetic device.
The terrified hands.
Yes,
Terrified hands.
terrified hands. Yes. So terrified hands. Which poetic device in terrified hands?
The personification, terrified hands can,
Terrified
because
hands. Terrified hands. How can the hand be terrified? Yes.
because
There,
how can the hands lie?
yes. There can be personification also, and there we have discussed that there is a transferred epithet also. The qualities of person transferred to the parts of body or object. Yes. So how can the hand be die? Terrified hand. Very correct. What else? That's it. So all these the poetic devices has been used here. Now we shall see some question answer. We shall discuss the question answer. Okay. Later on. Okay. So I end the class here. Anything you have to ask, Sneha, related to
No,
this
sir.
this poem?
No, sir.
Okay. Clear everything.
Yes, sir.
Title, mood, vocabulary, poetic devices, meaning. Okay, so I end it here. Okay, goodbye.